Welcome to Clamp, the podcast delving into the myriad facets of creativity, innovation, and project making. I'm your host, Grant Alexander, alongside the ever insightful Jessy Radfink and the ingenious Adam Mackey. Tonight, we have a special guest who is, according to ChatGPT, a trailblazer in the realm of innovative visual storytelling, seamlessly blending creativity and technology. As the driving force behind AudreyObscura.com, she crafts immersive digital experiences that transcend conventional narratives, inviting audiences into mesmerizing and thought-provoking worlds. Welcome, Audrey Love, to the podcast, and I'd like to invite you to correct the record and let everyone know what AI missed about you.
The second you said the word delved, I knew exactly that this was generative. I knew it because that is like its favorite little want to explain something? Let's use this word.
Yes.
Let's correct the record. I do some of that stuff, not all of it. I am a creative technologist. I am an artist. I write. I'm an educator. I have worked on immersive experiences, but I haven't necessarily taken ownership over those. I work well in collaboratives and collectives to make those happen.
Way to go. And this is what I think. Thank you for correcting that. What we're going to be talking about today is a little bit about AI and how people are using it and what's the good about it and maybe what's the not so good about it. And as you can see, when you're trying to use AI text-based stuff, the language it chooses is immediately, for anyone who uses AI ever, is immediately noticeable in my mind. Every time I've read like a resume that is AI generated, I go, I know you generated that, or a cover letter.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was AI generated when Greg complimented us.
Also that. Yeah, it's very much a case of this is either AI or like a middle school student that has broken out the thesaurus and is just like going to town, but it's probably AI.
Yeah.
That's like when I did the resume or the questions I had to do for the job that I was going for. When I used ChatGPT, I took away all of the like smart words that I wouldn't know and made it look more human written. I would never use the word delved in my life.
Yeah, that's fair.
Exactly.
Right. Well, so, we wanted to talk a little bit about that because from what I've seen, you are doing a lot with AI and you are having some fun. I think you got a little newsletter about AI, and maybe you can explain why you're so interested in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, let me think about a good place to start that. I started writing this newsletter called OMG AI WTF in the beginning of, I think, June, after a bunch of AI tools came on the scene. And it was very clear that as a creative, our jobs are about to change dramatically, and especially a creative working in media, like many of you are as well. So like I was looking at all of these capabilities that were rolling out, and I was like, well, some of these might be really helpful, but some of these are going to take away the best part of our jobs and of our tasks. And when we live in a capitalist system like we do, we also have people enterprising upon that. We're like, immediately I could see like, oh, the people that hire me to do great creative work are going to see these tools and think, we don't need her anymore. Fantastic.
Right.
And I immediately started using those tools to be like, this is just subpar stuff so far, for now. I think things are changing and things are changing incredibly fast. But just to be able to have dialogue and start naming these processes because it is so new, I think it's just like, I had the time and the opportunity to be one of the creatives at the forefront of kind of what it means to be experimenting and learning out loud in this space. And so I'm running with it.
Right. So when you talked about that, it reminds me a lot of when like phones on your camera got so good that they could replace a decent camera for a hobbyist, for sure, right? Mm-hmm. and they fired a lot of photographers at magazines and stuff, and they said to like whoever's doing the reporting, just take it with your phone, because phones are so good, right? And they seem to have missed the understanding of the pictures aren't good because of the camera. The tool's not what made it good. It was the person behind the camera that understood all the creativity that it takes, what to frame, how to frame it. It had nothing to do with how many megapixels their camera was. Right?
Would you know what my career was before I pivoted to all of this? I started as a photographer, hence Audrey Obscura.
There you go.
Perfect analogy to kick this off with.
So you started using these tools, and maybe to demonstrate if they were not good, but I also read that they're tools to you. Right? There's something to use, and they have value. So why don't we talk a little bit about the tools you've tried and what value you feel they bring to the creative table?
I keep iterating this to people that are trying to learn here and clients that come to me for creative work. It's a great first draft tool. It will get you to a place if you provide any text to image, image to image, or image to video generator. It will get you to a great launching point, because you will instantly see that is not what you want. Which is great, because then you have some more context to be like, okay, well, this isn't what I want. So what do I want from this? What do I want to get out of this interaction to move forward with what I'm trying to work on? So that has been a part of this, like, working with AI tools that has been super fascinating to me, because I often, and maybe you have this as creatives too, like, you can see in your head exactly where you kind of want something to get going, or like how it exists. And technically you have the skills to build it, but you don't always have the time.
I 100% have images in my head I want to get onto the paper. And the time is a big, big, big one. And sometimes it's like I know that if I know what I want, but I just can't get it. Like painting is the one that I have a big problem. I can see a painting in my head, and I go and I try and paint it, and I just can't paint what I see in my head. So I just go, I guess I'm not a good painter. I know it's an experience thing, right? Like but I can see it, and I can even see the brush strokes. I'm like, why can't I make that? I can see a brush stroke. Why can't I make that brush stroke? What's happening here, right? This is, I don't have the technique or whatever it is. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not using the right materials or whatever it is. But if I could get that out on my head and just say, like, this is something I want, I could even give it to someone and say, like, this is kind of what I was looking for. Can you paint it for me? If I really wanted that painting for whatever reason. But if I wanted like a mechanical, like, I could see the future of design with this in a way of getting it to a point where you then, like, a first sketch, right? And if you like, I'm into cars. Chip Foose was a guy who did a lot of he did like the Saturday block TV where he would like overhauling and he would do all these cars up. But he was amazing at sketching quickly what his like vision was. And that's something I was like, anytime I would sketch, it was either took a long time to look good or was like stick people level, right? And if I could have just said that into a computer and it popped out what I was trying to say as the prototype sketch, I think that's a really great use case for AI.
Yeah, but to be able to communicate that is so challenging, because the way it builds context and the way we build context from each other is so radically different. So we're learning, we have to build these like imaginary bridges to talk to robots if we want to find these useful. And so it's a lot of social engineering more than anything, which is super strange.
I mean, I still am just kind of blown away that it took me like 30 minutes of tinkering with the introduction tonight just to get it to what we got. And that is like 2 chopped up bits that I put in the document that then Grant edited more.
No, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that has been my experience, or like the experience I've heard about. which is why I didn't really jump on the train at first. Right now, tonight, it was my first ChatGPT experience. And then I started using some of the Canva AI stuff just because it's actually pretty good, for what I pay a year for that. So, but that's like the only experience I've really had.
For me, it reminds me of the Office Space movie where Tom Smikowski or whatever his name is like, what exactly do you do here? And he's like, well, I talk to the engineers so that they don't have to talk to the clients, right? And that's what we need now is like a client's going to say something and you need to then talk to the computer, and like your job's going to be like AI translator, right? Like,
yes, actually, and like, just it's funny because I've just started making a little bit of noise here. So like people are sending me links to stuff or job postings and seeing like how people are trying to carve out this space. And like I've heard like prompt engineer or AI czar was another one I saw. I was like, okay, like, calm down. But like this is a field where we're being shoved in this direction, whether we like it or not, it seems. Jessy, out of curiosity, were you using the free version of ChatGPT?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there is a pretty seismic difference or order of magnitude difference between the paid version and the free version. But they've had such demand that they've shut down new subscriptions. So, which is crazy.
Wow.
I don't know.
I guess we can't delve into that.
No, not until they have less of a DDoS attack. Oh, God.
So most of your work that I've seen isn't about ChatGPT. You've been using Midjourney, or can you tell us the other apps that you've been experimenting with?
Absolutely. So I have been kind of playing around primarily in the new software I've subscribed to this year is ChatGPT Runway, which is an image and video tool. There are some text tools in there as well, but it's primarily for working with video. And then Midjourney, which is a Discord-based text to image or image to text generator. And they're all technically natural language models. So you talk to it like you would talk to each other and give directions that way instead of doing any kind of hard coding. Adobe rolled out a huge onslaught of AI tools into all of their apps. I am still making my way through testing most of them. So far, I can say the Photoshop ones are crazy. It's cutting my editing time down for stills and aspect ratio adjustments, like insane ways. Like,
right.
I went to school when you were still learning like analog darkroom processes, and I was like retouching photos like a pointillism painter.
Oh, wow.
So to be able to like change the aspect ratio really quickly and be like, I actually need this to be 4 times the size because I need it to be a vertical for whatever marketing purpose I need and then it just like populates perfectly with trees and background and poles where they need to be. It's just like, that's terrifying.
That to me is the best part, where they like expand to where you cropped poorly and the background, like you didn't quite give quite enough space in front.
Yeah.
And you could tell that now. You're looking at the picture and you're like, well, that's the only one where the eyes are in focus, but it's the cropped so poorly that I can't use it, right? And then you go, okay, well, now you can just go, well, just pretend there's more there. And the program's like, yeah, no problem. Right? And it's just crazy to me how well that works. How well it's doing at creating inanimate objects, I guess. People don't seem to be the greatest, but...
No.
Have you seen like people make videos of literally telling AI to change the background and stuff? Completely.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. I couldn't even do that myself.
I won't name and shame, but I did have a client that we made product photos for last year, and we handed them over in perpetuity. So good on them for being smart about this. They had their in-house retoucher just take the foreground and completely swap out the background. And I saw it in my Instagram feed, and I was like, yep, it's a great photo. Didn't take it, but I could have taken part of it.
Oh, no.
So like there's like little telltale signs that how it's getting implemented and but we don't really have good language about how we're discussing this yet. So like we haven't found the right hooks to put into this so that we can talk about it in a way that everyone's learning from each other.
Well, even just talking about AI in itself. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm yet to find an image generator that knows how to talk in English at all. Images are always some random numbers and letters and
right. Yeah, like if you use Midjourney and you ask it to like put clamp the word or podcast the word, it's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, why not? Why do you? It looks like it puts it in like, an alien language.
Yeah, that is a really funny thing that keeps happening. I think that is getting in the newest release that has been addressed a little bit, and there's some like cueing that you can do to like get pretty close to what you want. I feel, I've gotten some pretty close results where I'm like typing in the name of our business, Echo Studio, and it's just like it'll type in like 3 extra O's at the end. I'm like, you're almost there, buddy. What
happened? So speaking of AI sort of translating things badly, so Nicole and I are doing a lot of videos for work these days, and she really likes to use, the voice from text. And CapCut is always updating. It's always got little weirdness. But it is so bizarre the way it pronounces some stuff. And she's having to like clip extra letters out of the audio for like what it generates.
Yeah.
It's just wild how much, we're both still kind of fiddling with things, even though it's so close. But sometimes it can't be human enough.
I think there's something kind of wonderful too there, just to talk about like something identifiably not human still is a little bit helpful from a media perception, where you're like, when you are scrolling, you're like, oh good, like I will happily listen to a robot in this situation where it's like a how it's made video versus like maybe my voice, which is full of Southern California vocal fries. It makes a lot more sense in these situations to have that kind, but there needs to be distinction between knowing it's a robot and knowing it's AI, like voice generated AI, and that trickery that can happen, that uncanny valley where you're maybe crawling out of the valley and you're starting to believe again, is a little bit terrifying.
Yeah.
There's a video of a content maker, a gamer on YouTube by Memeo, and a year ago there's this group that like all the influencers that play the game, they make this like D&D style video where like they have countries and stuff, and everyone's from different country. Last year he infiltrated the kingdom and took over the king. So then this year he wanted to do it again, but he knew that the guy would recognize him. So he actually got AI to make a voice changer of another YouTuber that couldn't play, and did the whole thing with this voice changer. But the only thing was that the AI couldn't pronounce things like with the inflections that we would. So people were like, why do you sound so dull? Like you just sound like you are just run down. Like you sound so sad. Like you're just talking like a robot.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I imagine within the year that problem solved.
See, this is what worries me though. Like once you get to a point where you cannot tell, is going to be a massive issue. Like deepfakes at the moment, there is always something to like, you can tell that it's a deepfake. Wait until you can't.
Most people.
Like,
I mean,
no, but yeah, but that's the thing. For most people, they can't tell. But I mean, like, even if someone studies it to see if it is real, when like someone gets deepfaked doing something really bad, because they're going to have to do that. If it gets to a point where they can't find anything, it's going to be a worry. Like people are going to get in trouble for so many things they haven't done.
I think it's really interesting because we rely on video evidence in the criminal realm so much because I'm an investigator. If I got video evidence of someone doing or saying something or audio recording of it, I would say that is infallible proof. And it is one of the highest levels of evidence that I would want to gather. And now knowing how easy someone can make something up, right? Because we just got to the point where how easy it was for everyone to carry a camera and subvertly in Canada, you can, as long as you are in the room, you can record anyone else legally. As long as one
party has to know. Yeah.
Only one party has to know. So in the States, I know it's different. In Canada, only one party has to know.
Yeah,
so you can't leave. You can't leave your phone in a room and leave. You have to be in the room.
Oh, that's nice.
Hey, fair. Well, that makes sense. One person has to know.
It does. But it kind of makes sense because it stops people from leaving a camera in a room to find out things that they wouldn't find out if they weren't in the room.
Right.
Because if you can't say it when I'm in the room, then I can't record it.
Right. So that's
anyway.
So this is like, that's a whole different ethical dilemma, but whatever. I understand why it is that way. So someone says something to me, I can record it. Right. And then I have that recording and I can use it in whatever use case I need for it. But if we now get into the ethics of AI and they can easily just take that recording and you can pretend, you could even just make it all up. Right, with enough, there's
enough
images or stuff.
A good idea and a bad idea to make anything happen. Usually,
right. That's a good way of saying it. So then let's talk a little. We'll bring it back into like, is AI, in your view? And I know there's been whole discussions about this, so we'll try and keep it a little short. Is it ethical?
In the right hands of the right people, sure, yeah, why not?
Okay.
I think it's a fascinating research and powerful analytical tool. Like the way that it can crunch numbers is a way that I'll never be able to. Like if you're doing a huge swath of medical testing and you're analyzing blood panels from over 1,000 people that are being tested for certain kind of levels or metrics. And like, you can do really granular reporting that you might not have even thought to look for certain markers all of a sudden. So like those kinds of breakthroughs, I think, are super fascinating. That's the kind of the superhuman part of the analytical stuff that I think is valuable and that we should continue investing in, because those things will make better outcomes for humans.
Yes.
The part that frightens me, that does not feel completely ethical, is the part that these companies aren't being transparent with their training data. These companies are handing over the tools with some guardrails, but it seems like with enough social engineering, you can pretty much tear them down. There's lots of reports of people being able to influence with enough context to be able to generate results that it really shouldn't be instructing you. Like, I get migraine headaches every once in a while. I told ChatGPT I'm a neurological fellow. What are the reasons why I would be getting a migraine in these situations? If I lie about my credentials, I get better results. I'm not a neurological fellow. I'm an artist.
That's amazing.
But it seems to be that it's more willing to provide you with certain sets of information with the right context, and that feels unethical at times.
Yeah. I'll go like my little bit of ethical dilemmas with it has to do with like how we're creating websites and potentially misinformation. So all these AI generated websites are telling everyone that you're a trailblazer in the realm of innovative visual storytelling. Like,
I'll take it.
But this is like when you go and look up these websites, like there's always been these like misinformation websites, which I don't know how they ever found it, but now they are everywhere. And I can, as soon as I start reading a website, I'm like, wasn't written by a human, right? And it just doesn't feel right. And I don't know why it just has that like gut feeling like it's not ethical to put that information out there so easily accessible and like
Yeah, so this is something that we are having problems with at work, because both the people who tend to scrape data from websites and the people who spam on websites have really enjoyed employing AI to make things faster for themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the amount of the just weird websites that we come across that have our content, but it's like horribly bastardized. Or my new favorite thing, there are DIY scammers now putting up sites that look a lot like Instructables, and they will write articles about DIY projects on other websites. I found one for my electric chair Barbie doll, and it was one of the worst written things I have ever like trudged through online. It was so much worse than fan fiction or like angry people on Facebook. It was horrible. It was just like they got everything wrong, but they happily posted it and we're linking to it on Twitter all over. So
were they running ads on it too?
Oh, I'm not sure. Probably. But I opened it in Chrome, so all pictures are Nicolas Cage now. So not entirely sure.
That can become a problem. I don't know if you try and do the TikTok or the CAPTCHA that you have to like move a puzzle piece. If you're all Nicolas Cage, it doesn't
that
work.
Was so funny.
Yeah, just letting everyone know. But so, what were we actually talking about before Nicolas Cage got into the thing? I had something I really wanted to talk about.
We were ethics, scraping of data from one platform to another.
Right. So, So, like, I feel like the Google results are getting almost AI, the like top little bit, kind of like you yell at your Echo or your Alexa or your whatever the thing is that you yell at in your house. As you can tell, I have lots of them around. But like it's the top results. So I remember I Googled something. So I'm a scout leader, and I was talking with someone, and I was like, he was saying that the Scouts was the person who started it. Baden Powell was someone who wanted to make a paramilitary organization, and I was like, I have a copy of the original Scouting for Boys book from the 1904 or whatever, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he said he explicitly didn't want it to be. And if you Google it, it pops up that yes, it is. And if you add one more word, it says no, it isn't. And it all comes about with if it's Boy Scouts of America versus American Boy Scouts, one of them started to be a paramilitary and the other didn't.
Just like another like perfect example of like where context when communicating as humans makes complete sense, but communicating to a robot or like something that needs just that order of context specifically is a failure.
Yeah. And this is where I have go ahead.
I wonder if like being the order of words and stuff is an issue with other countries and other languages then. Because like if you translate English to other languages, like they speak in different orders. Words are in different orders. So I wonder if they ever have like more issues than we do, or less, or
different.
There's some platforms that are catering to multiple languages. I don't know if I can name them offhand, but I do know that lots of research is happening in those areas because money is incentivized to follow those projects. So I'll be curious how that develops, but there's definitely instances too where the order of words doesn't necessarily matter. It's also like just adding additional context, like, because it just kind of sees it as word soup. Usually, most of the time, it's analyzing the string and then the particles and even down to a character level. It's not reading like you and I read. It's reading like a document scanner, like a X-ray. It's not us. Just definitively.
I think an X-ray is a great example of it because an X-ray shows it has a lot of information. And I can look at an X-ray and I look at it and go, okay. And a doctor comes in and says, do you see that? And I'm like, and they're pointing to it and I still don't know what they're telling me is wrong with my, do you see this on your vertebrae? I'm like, no. Well, it's starting to fuse. I'm like, if you say so, like, like, you should get this checked out every couple years. I'm like, okay, I'll come back in and have someone else look at it. Like, I don't know. But obviously it's because I'm not trained. And I feel like that's an X-ray is exactly how they're doing it. They're just taking whatever it is, and the AI model is hopefully being able to decipher the X-ray.
It's interesting you said that word, you're not trained. We need to keep in mind that AI is new. Like, I mean, it's been around for years, but to us, it's fairly new. So it's still getting trained. They're still trying to get rid of all the kinks and everything. Imagine 20 years from now, AI is probably going to be pretty much perfect. And, like, we're screwed then.
I hope not.
Well, yeah.
Well, now that we've talked a little bit about the ethics, I want to say, what is your favorite way to use AI? So you talked about a little bit of the sketching, but is there something more than that? Because I was looking on your website and or your newsletter, and I saw the different ways you've used it. So what's your favorite?
So far, one of the things that slows me down is like I'm a fast writer and I can get it all on the page really fast, but I hate going back and editing my work, especially because I am a prolific dash user when you should be using like commas and semicolons and all kinds of other really great punctuation. Nah, I don't do that. So to have ChatGPT go back through and be like, and very explicitly say, do not change the tone of my writing. Do not change any of my word placement. I am looking for grammatical corrections and corrections for clarity, and that is it. And just like to be very, very clear. Like, and again, like I've provided it with a lot of context and given, and like I've cheated now. I have a whole swath of instructables I can pull from to write my own writing samples. So I've created a PDF and be like, okay, this is how I write. You can replicate that. So I've been able to like kind of make a little like enough training data to automate a little bit of my time back, but that took me 3 or 4 days to figure out also. So did I get that time back? Who knows? Maybe in the long run, but I just think like there's a lot of artists that are going to start trying to use these tools, and it's just going to take iteration, and like the sandbox is messy right now and nothing's sticking together. There's nothing, it's hard to build on top of each other. But I have a feeling we're going to start getting some good, better tools and molds soon.
Cool. Well,
do you want me to talk about more tools? Sorry, I can.
Yeah, if you want to keep talking,
I always hear more.
Yeah, you can. I was just trying to see whether or not we wanted to start wrapping it up because the timing's a little late. But if you're good to keep talking,
yeah, I'm happy to.
All right.
The other thing that I think is super fascinating, just from a creative standpoint and an education standpoint, is seeing younger people use Midjourney with a little bit of context. And these are kids that are like, think middle school and up, people that have at least a 6th to 8th grade reading and writing level, so that they know how to write, communicate in written form. Not like I'm talking right now at all.
Right. Perfect. Yeah, I get you.
So those kids are running into the same kind of fascinating issue we were talking about earlier, where we're like, you can see in your head where you want it to go, but they're so fast with learning that they're able to form like educational diagrams for their essays that reflect a kind of history that they've recently learned about. So like say they just learned about Mayans and they're like, cool, I want a graphic here that is a Mayan temple. And then they get to check to see if the Midjourney temple looks like the Mayan temples that they look like in their history book. So it's like an interesting like bridge of like coding and history and writing. And I think that is super fascinating to see happen. And I'm very excited to see where like STEM education opportunities are headed with a lot of guardrails for kids.
Right. My son has this like fantasy place that he has developed in his mind, and he tries to draw it, and obviously he's still in like the 2D phase of drawing. right? So like a house is just a flat thing and everything is just flat, which is fine. He seems to have no problem, but he tries to explain it to us. And the amount of stuff he tells me, I wish I could record it, feed it into a thing, and like have a little like video or like even like augmented reality or something that we could like see what he's saying and say, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Right. He's got this whole like castle system that he's things, and I don't know. Anyways, I would love to see something like that where it can take.
You should actually do that. Get your son to talk into like an AI video generator.
Yeah.
And see what it comes up with. Just out of curiosity. Like, not saying it's going to work, but just to see what happens. It'd be really cool.
One day.
How old's your kid, out of curiosity, before
5.
we approve this idea? Couple years, maybe.
Right. It would be like under supervision.
And especially for just like, I feel like that this is a really critical age too, where imagination is still developing, and to know that kind of bridge can exist is super helpful for us adults that are being constantly measured by our productivity. But I think could potentially damaging for a kid that's too young, that doesn't know that they can come up with those ideas on their own.
Right. Yeah. Oh, totally. I get, because my wife is really good at like drawing and stuff, and she'll every once and like she'll draw something that's so good that then he doesn't want to draw anymore, and she doesn't quite get like why that's a problem. I'm like, no, you just gotta like just keep telling him he has to draw it. Don't draw it for him at all. Like, that's what I do. Like, he's drawing something, let him draw it. If he wants you to like write a word, I can understand that. Like, he's 5. He's got some words that he can write, but he doesn't have a lot of them. So I can get like, he wants to write a sentence. You probably need your help. But if he wants to draw our dog, you tell him, I want to see what you come up with. Not, my wife knows how to draw the dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't really think about that. And like now thinking about it, so my son, a lot of the time he loves to draw, but he'll always ask Google how to draw something. So then it shows him a YouTube video on how to draw it. But he's not using his creative mind then, because he's just copying.
Copying, tracing is a really great way to get started for that kind of kinetic tool or kinetic skill building. But there is something that's happening between like learning that this shape means this motion, and like that can be a valuable exercise still. Yeah. But like expecting, that's not arriving to a finished product without your child too at the same time. Like the AI stuff often is just like is here to serve you a finished product seemingly, and just like you can run with this, versus like this is the skill set that you need to do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Do you worry that AI is going to take away some people's skills?
I think it already has.
I watch Idiocracy every year to start like and do like a little check of like what's happened in the last year, and I think about this movie a lot in the context of the things that are rolling out.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're a very lucky generation of digital natives. You all look around my age. I'm going to make assumptions here. Where we grew up in homes that probably got. Huh?
You're 21 too?
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. I look great. But we grew up in homes where like a computer room wasn't a thing initially, and then all of a sudden we had a computer room in our house. And so we had to skill up, and we've been skilling up since we were children. These kids didn't have to cross that bridge or walk that path or whatever soliloquy you want to insert there. But like the way that they form context is so different that I don't think that they can wrap their brains around the history of why we communicate the way that we do, because there has been so much digital intervention into the way that they even learn everything already. So like, I'm not worried that we're going to like lose our skills, because I'm finding ways to learn from AI, but I think we are going to lose our communication in ways that will not serve us moving forwards.
I don't know
fear.
what the education system's like over there, but over here, all the kids in school, not my son's only 7, so he's in year 1, too young. I can't remember, I think they might get him in high school, I'm not sure, but they all get laptops now. Like, these kids aren't going to be able to read and write when they're older. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Let them eat cake. I think that the communication thing is 100%. We're going to be like screaming into the cloud, random stuff that's like Idiocracy is a perfect example. And I couldn't think of a better movie to point out, like, that's if you listen to the way they talk, it's because they've been talking at computers, which is crazy because Idiocracy is like a pretty old movie.
2003. Oh
yeah. Oh my God, it's 2006. It's
So, I have to ask, because I love telling people this, but Idiocracy, do you know the shoe story?
Yeah.
Yes, but it's worth retelling.
Okay, so the creator of the movie hired a person to create shoes for the movie that would make the people look stupider, and those shoes were Crocs.
Oh my God.
The costume design folly of the century.
Sam.
Yeah. So every single person in the movie is wearing Crocs.
The costume designer is specifically quoted saying, "No one will ever wear these."
Exactly.
That is amazing.
I know Grant wants to wrap up, but I wanted to make another quick point about AI. What are your guys' thoughts on like real-time AI? Because I don't know if you've seen, so apparently with Samsung phones, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently with like people have been wondering how it gets such good shots of the moon. Apparently it actually AIs in the moon over the glow of the moon. And that's why it's such a clear picture. So someone actually took a picture of like their lamp in a dark room, and it changed the circle of the lamp to the moon.
Right. And someone else took a fuzzy picture of the moon, and then used their phone to take a picture of that fuzzy picture, and it changed it into a nice, perfect moon. And it's I don't know how much of that is AI as much as it is like I don't know how far into AI it is, right? Like, it seems like it's a pretty basic program.
I respect the moon's privacy. It seems like it doesn't want to be photographed.
Fair. Yeah. The real-time AI is going to be, like, it reminds me of like Total Recall, where Arnold Schwarzenegger's wearing that, like, the suit over top of him. It's like people are going to be able to walk around with some sort of, or make video calls or whatever, and have a different person. The whole deep fake, 100% real time.
Have any of you looked at the real time meta avatars that were just rolled out with all those celebrities?
No.
Oh no.
I mean, just go like prod them just to know that you're still a human and that they are not. But it's just very fascinating to see that that's how that's being implemented, as like the real-time chatbot functionality is very fascinating, but there's other products that are integrating like real-time digital girls, and that's getting into like a really yucky territory, I feel.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're stripping away the social interactions that actually connect us and keep us in community. So that's the part I fear with real-time AI, is that it's just going to like rip us away from the part that like we as humans cannot be humans alone. Like, talk to any medical doctor. Like we need each other. We're social animals. So like those interventions are like super scary to me, actually.
I can't remember what company it is that's made it. I know that I tried to sign up for the trial, but I don't think I got through for it. But they're making an AI like face tracker where, so like right now when I'm talking to you guys, I could be looking off reading a script, or every time I look away, but it just keeps me looking at the camera.
So creepy. So creepy.
Yeah.
That one made me feel some kind of way.
There's like an infinite number of examples of stories like that. And I feel like the people that are having successes are being very quiet about them because they fear regulation and competition.
Yeah.
That is very fair. Yeah.
Not me. I don't care. I'll keep yelling about when I do good and when I do bad.
Well, you know what we do good? We thank our Patreon supporters, especially the F-Clamp level ones. Yeah. Scott from Daddy Yourself DIY, Joe Herdina, Rich from Lowen Designs, David Wood from DW Wood Builds, Brad from I'm Gonna Make, and Chad from Chad's Custom Creations. Thank you to them and everyone else who supports the show. If you feel like you got $1 value out of this episode, consider going over to patreon.com/clamp. You'll get access to a pre-show, an after show, as well as we have a special Discord hangout every month where you get to chat with the hosts if you want, or you can just listen to us chat. And you also get a keychain made by yours truly out of leather. So head over to patreon.com/clamp. And now, CLAMPmendations.
CLAMPmendations.
I don't really have one this week, but my CLAMPmendation's going to be NF, who is a rap artist. I just really like his music. It's very knows how to say what I'm thinking or feeling.
So is that an Australian rap artist? So I know when I Google him.
No, I think he's American.
No, okay.
He's actually becoming really big.
Okay.
NF.
American rapper.
All right.
Oh, yep. Okay. I was worried I might have to dig a little. I never know with the clip.
If you search, first song I recommend is Dreams. It sort of gives you an idea of what his songs are about.
Jessy, you're up.
It is me now. Okay, so this week I'm actually kind of combining DIY and horror films. We're not just going to be talking about horror films. So one of the only YouTubers that I actually watch is Jack's Films. I just find him completely endearing. I just love him. He's very soothing. He has a second channel that he's started now that is also really awesome called Jack's Films, after Sissa Sniper Wolf. So there's a lot of drama going on that I know too much about because I watch stuff during the day while I work. But his latest video on his main channel is called I Hate Jump Scares, So I Made This. And he essentially worked with someone to make an app that pulled data from where'sthejump.com, which is a great website for anybody who is kind of terrified of jump scares. It will give you a timestamp for everyone. And so it's, it's good for people who get really scared really easily. But the app developer basically grabbed the data from there, and then you download the app on your phone, you compare it to your smartwatch, and it displays a countdown until the next scare, which sounded really silly to me at first, but when I watched him watch a horror movie with it, it made total sense after that. Because I didn't really think about it from a person who doesn't like horror, because when you don't like horror, you're constantly waiting for the next thing to happen to you. You're not having any fun with it. And he was able to sort of relax after a little while with it. And so I was very pleasantly surprised that it worked.
Adrenal pressure release.
Yeah. So, for any of you that are like Tyler, my partner, or, Jack's Films partner, and they just want to watch scary movies all the time, you might have a solution to make it a little less painful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's so interesting thinking about, so I knocked the rear view mirror off my car when I was taking the headliner out. And I drove my car to work today, and it didn't have a rear view mirror. And it was a lot, it was almost freeing that I couldn't see the cars on my ass the whole time in the driving on the freeway. I got the side view mirrors. You don't need a rear view mirror. It's not even a legal requirement because let me put a bunch of boxes in the back of my car. Oh, all of a sudden you can't use it anymore. It's just one of those nice things to have, but the not having it there, not having this constant guy I couldn't tell whether or not someone was riding my butt during the traffic, and I was like, this is freeing to me to the point where I go like, do I want to get rid of this? And then I backed out of my driveway and I was like, oh no, I use the rearview mirror a lot. Like this turning around stuff is not fun. But anyways, I don't know why that reminded me of it. I'm going to recommend everyone check out the Making Our Way podcast. They're doing an ornament exchange right now. Go listen to one of their latest episodes or check out their Instagram to get all the details about it. But basically, you make an ornament, you submit a picture to the people, and they'll pair you up with someone, and then you send them your ornament, and you get an ornament from that person. And they're doing it all over the world. So, but they're trying to stick like you're only going to have to send to your continent to save on shipping. But yeah, so I did it last year and I got an ornament from Tim, the shop teacher. And it was really nice, like beautiful wood turned ornament. And I made a little Santa, hand carved Santa. And this year now I have to come up with something to top that. So
that's so
fun
cool.
little project. Yeah. Last year someone made their ornament was some 3D printed bullshit, and it was actually like bullshit that because it's like the joke is that he never makes anything because he just 3D prints it. So he turned bullshit into a nice ornament, and people don't know it's bullshit. So there you go.
I think my recommendation has to be the Walter Wick Instagram account. Do you know who Walter Wick is? He photographed the I Spy books in the 90s and 80s. But they have an incredible Instagram presence these days where they are showcasing their incredibly tedious photography and technical setups to make some of the like most visually compelling still lifes that are visual puzzles also too. And like these are big books that I grew up with, that I loved, that I spent all my money on at the Scholastic Book Fair. And it's so cool to see that they are still making new work and that they're releasing behind the scenes content still. So I can't recommend it enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I followed immediately. Yeah. That's so much pretty stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're shooting on a camera that's an 8x10 negative too. So that's like a very big, huge source image that like is basically the equivalent of, I think, like 400 megapixel or maybe even bigger.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't quote me on that. I think it is actually quite a big amount bigger, but it's incredibly tedious technical work. And it's crazy to see the amount of work that will go into one image, which is the very opposite of AI, which is why I love this so very much.
It's so funny because a lot of these images look like AI could have done them, right? Like if you didn't know, you'd say, it looks kind of like AI because just the amount of stuff going on.
It's all practical in camera. Like none of it is special effects. None of it's retouching. It's all in camera because it's shot to negative. So I think that's just so cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Cool. Well, let me get back. Sorry, let me get off that little Instagram rabbit hole, and we're going to head on over to the Jessy's portion.
Ask us anything. Every time you say that, I go, no. I still get nervous. Okay. So this week, the Ask Us Anything is from High Caliber Craftsman Builds. If you had to choose to go back to an exact time to live the rest of your life, when would it be and why? I like that everybody's like, because that, yeah.
Okay, so my question is, what, like I just have to do the same thing for the rest of my life? Like what? So if I say like 17, I just have to be that job forever or what?
No. Like if you had to go back to an exact date, let's say that, in an exact year, maybe. When would you want to start your life?
So I start my life again.
Yeah.
Let's just start over.
Or even do the exact same things. But I'm assuming that you have, and we'll make this assumptions for everyone, that you have the knowledge. You go back in time with the knowledge you have now.
Back to the Future.
Do I know that I'm going to go back in time beforehand? Or do I die and then they say, you go back? Because if I know beforehand, can I not research like the lottery numbers for a few days after I go back? And
This is why time travel movies are so confusing.
Right. So you're just going back in time and you can't like plan it.
Yeah.
But see, you've already planned it. Like, I'll just buy Bitcoin and boom, when it's $5, like.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I'll buy Apple when they first start up, and you don't need a sports almanac. This is the stupidest part about Back to the Future. That's just like the fact that he bets on the games changes the outcome of the games. Right?
Yeah, the Bitcoin thing. But the problem, if it's just me, then I wouldn't really make an effect on Bitcoin. But if heaps of people go back in time and buy Bitcoin, it would make a huge difference.
Okay, well, I'll just throw mine out because it's not serious at all, and I really didn't think about this at all.
All right, go.
So I think, would like to be born in the 1920s in an extremely rural area where I could become like a swamp witch or something and just never be fucked with and never have to work a retail job.
I thought you were going back in time, back to a time of your life.
Oh, no. So did I.
Not me.
Yeah.
I want to try something different. My life has been, I'm done with it. Let's try something new.
Let's try Swamp Witch.
When's Pinky Blinders set?
Oh, God.
Isn't that like late 1800s?
Oh, see, I was like, I don't know, 1910? 1920?
What's that? Like back when everyone used to wear suits and stuff. Like that's the...
Up to the 80s? Like... if that's the way we're taking this, that I have to pick a time, like a year to go back into.
So I would now that I understand the question more, I would assume that we are who we are now. So you don't change, your age will be the same in everything. You just get to start your life from your age now.
So I would go back to like
establish rules.
Right. Well, this is the thing was we AI'd it in a way that didn't work. But I would go back to like the 50s where it's like post World War II industrial boom. All the tools are made of cast iron. There's no cheap tools yet. You know. That's where I'd go.
That works.
That's a hard question. I think I like all of our modern stuff. I don't know if I'd go too far back in time. I really liked, there was like a really nice era. Jessy was a part of this actually in like 2012 when we moved into this really fancy building and we had very little oversight and we got to make whatever we want with other people's money. I would go back to that. That was really nice.
I'm going to second that, and if that can't work out, Swamp Witch. But that was a great time.
Thanks, Autodesk. That was a great
Thanks, Uncle Carl.
career time. I loved making marketing materials for you during that time.
Right. So if I think about it, like The Matrix is like perpetually set in the year 2000, right? That seems like a pretty good time to go back. Frosted Tips, I'm in.
Before 9/11, things weren't weird yet. Yeah. 2000 seems like a good time.
Yeah. Conan had a prolific song about it for us all to chant if we needed to go back in time.
In the year 2000. All right. Well, I want to first of all thank TF Turning for. Before I do that, Austin, put more context to your things because every time you've said one, we've thought different things. More context, Austin. But I want to thank TF Turning for the theme song. Yeah. I want to thank Audrey for coming on. If you could tell everyone where they can find you, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Audrey Obscura on Instagram and pretty much everywhere across the internet. And I am the creative director of a little company I started called Echo Studio. And you can check out what we're making over there. We make accessibility tools for photographers.
Cool. Well, and if you want to find all of us, you can search on the usual social media places for Clamp or Clampcast, and you will be able to find us there. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.